welcome back. This is Thinking Outside the House. This is the podcast where we explore the world of real estate beyond owning your first home. I'm your host, Ed Pluchar, and today's interview coming right up is with Patrice Flagg Waller. She is a lot of things. She is a real estate agent, a homeowner, also an investor, and an educator. And you'll get plenty of education on this one. It's really a fascinating interview and much more than I bargained for, to be honest. Pardon me. I didn't know her that well before, but Tim Ryan from my brokerage introduced us, and I'm very glad he did because it was an education for me, is what I'm trying to get at. Really impressed with her track record. You'll notice my surprise too during the interview. She has a very high threshold for the amount of money she wants to profit from a flip. So pay attention to that because it's more than normal, and she's done enough of them to warrant that high threshold. But in addition to that, a lot of other tips and interesting story as well. I really enjoyed the background of her grandmother owning real estate, multifamily units, buildings, and that being a driving force for her getting into real estate. So without further ado, here is the interview with Patrice. All right, we are here today with Patrice Waller. She is, I would say, a real estate educator, a homeowner, yes, an agent, an investor. And what have I missed? What else should we learn about you?
Boy, I'm also a commercial mortgage broker.
That's right. Okay.
And I'm a super host with Airbnb.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, lots to talk about.
I think, did you mention developer as well?
No.
Okay. So, yeah, I started fixing and flipping in 2014.
Okay.
And so just a combination of a whole lot of things that I have learned over the 28 years that I have been in the real estate industry.
Wow. Okay. That's outstanding. So let me ask you this. Were you an agent first or did you buy a home first?
I was actually an agent first. I became an agent at a very, very young age. Okay. I believe I was 20 when I was licensed. And so I bought my first home shortly thereafter. But yes.
Awesome. So you're 20 years old. What made you want to get into real estate?
I have actually had a burning desire even as a child. I did some of the weirdest things.
Okay, like
weirdest
what?
things as a child. I was at a very young age, I was very interested in politics. So I would stay up all night during elections.
Really?
And
That's awesome.
Watch and read up on the different candidates. But it was extremely important to me at a very young age. And also stocks. I learned how to read stocks at a very young age. And so I used to watch them every day. So my mom would say, Patrice, you always want certain things. So it was the real estate section, and then it was the stocks
there you go.
section that I wanted out of the newspaper.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. How old would you say you were at that time? Like that kindled?
I was probably in about 5th grade.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That is young. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So you kind of had this lingering interest in real estate.
Yes.
And like, let's go for it. Let's get into the world.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it also started from my grandmother. One of my grandmothers, she and my grandfather owned residential as well as commercial property.
Yeah.
She owned several single family homes and then a few multifamily. And she bought and managed a 29 unit in the North Lawndale area.
Okay.
And this was probably back in the late 70s, early 80s. And so my grandmother was definitely my inspiration.
That's outstanding. 29 units. That's like my next step, actually. It's about that. That's
mine too.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah, multifamily.
Awesome. Wow. Okay, so that I can see that kind of driving your interest in real estate and seeing what's possible. Okay, so you become an agent. Was that to facilitate your investment strategy, or was that to help people directly?
It was really to help people.
Okay.
At the time, I was so young, I didn't really think at that time I didn't even really think beyond like, investor or to the level of where my knowledge and experience is today. I wasn't there, so it was really just all about, I was passionate about helping people. And even back then it was all about, helping others, build wealth.
Okay.
So that's, huge for me.
That is great. That's outstanding. Mm-hmm. So then how long after you became an agent did you buy that house?
About 2.5 years in, we bought our first house.
Cool.
And then the rest is history.
Yeah. So tell me about that house, if you don't mind. Like, what'd you pay for it? What kind of house was it?
Oh boy. I'm trying to remember numbers here. Let's see. I want to say we paid $101,000 for the house, and I may be wrong because I keep going between 101 and 107.
Okay.
But it was just a little bit above $100,000. And that property back then, I had a one-stop shop. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, I was learning a lot about creative financing. So that particular property, we bought a contract for deed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so used some creative financing with that purchase. And
real quick, just for everyone listening, what does that mean, contract for deed?
Basically, we had an extended, it was like owner financing, or some would may call it seller financing, where they would hold the note and we just set up a contract and terms.
So the deed moves to your name.
Yes.
Meanwhile, they're the bank, basically.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then how long did you live in that house?
We lived in that house for 7 years.
Okay.
And my husband and I, we've been together for 35 years. Wow. And have 7 wonderful children.
Oh my goodness.
We call them Team Waller.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And 17 grandchildren.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Jeez. I've got 5 kids. I'm not going to beat 7, I don't think. But that's awesome. Big families are just great, isn't it?
It is. It's awesome.
Are they, skipping ahead just briefly, are any of them in real estate then?
Yes, actually, my 2 of my daughters are real estate investors, and my son is now. My son happens to be a FFL, which I kind of shared with you earlier.
But if you don't mind, again, explain what that is.
My son is a federal firearms dealer, mm-hmm. And in fact, we found out that he was the youngest FFL in the country.
Wow.
And so he has been working in that industry for the past 10 years. Okay. My kids seem to split because half of them are entrepreneurs and business owners like myself. And then the other half are, working their way through corporate America, doing an exceptional job, mm-hmm. much like their dad. My husband has been with the railroad for 34 years.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
And he never just had that entrepreneurial spark. He liked the steady job.
He loves the railroad. Okay. So it's BNSF all the way.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. So coming back to that house, you had it for 7 years. I just like like you said, building wealth aspect of real estate. How much do you sell it for? If you remember.
Ooh, I want to say we sold that house for $157,000.
Just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, in 7 years. So that was pretty great because, over $50,000 in a very short period of time. And now mm-hmm. it's like unbelievable what's happening with the investments that we have now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And just out of curiosity now, that house, what would it sell for today?
Oh boy, that house today would probably be worth about between $250,000 and $300,000. Mm-hmm.
Just crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
So you're right. Like that wealth building component of it is so powerful.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you're an agent, and then when did you start with investment property from that point?
I pretty much started right away,
Okay.
within the first 2.5 years of, getting in business. My husband, his family also, owned real estate, and so it was really kind of an important thing for us and for our family, to kind of buy more and help. And my attitude has changed a lot because in the beginning I did property management, and it was very tough seeing some of the struggle that some of the landlords and long-term hold investors were experiencing. Doing property management, I found myself in court at least 2 or 3 days out of the week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And the judges here in Illinois were not friendly to the investor. They are more tenant friendly. And so I saw a lot of investors suffer.
Yeah.
And that was, it caused me to kind of, instead of buying and holding, I was like, nope, I want to just, buy and kind of flip, get out.
Yeah. Interesting.
But that has changed.
Okay.
The game has changed.
Can you, I'm really interested in that. So, because I think the common perception is the tenant is always the victim and the landlord's always the aggressor or whatever. Mm-hmm. But a lot of tenants are pretty savvy and can use those rules and laws against the landlord. What kind of instances did you see?
Oh boy. I have seen tenants that have not paid in 6 months, in a year.
Jeez.
And we would go to court, and the judge would ask the tenant, how much time do you need to be out?
Wow.
And I'm, because and the tenant would say, well, I have children, or it's cold out, and I need to, the kids get out of school at the end of May. And a lot of the judges, would grant their wishes.
Wow.
So it made it very difficult because, unfortunately, some of the investors would find themselves in bankruptcy court or foreclosure as a result. So, tough.
And so in what ways would you say it's changed since then?
Well, I think a lot of it has been, now it's like everything that I buy, I want to hold. Mm-hmm. So I realize that, holding is the name of the game, because it provides, cash flow. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, it is the fastest way to build generational wealth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So in terms of the tenant situation, do you then just focus a lot of effort on tenant screening or that interview process to make sure you're not going to get in that situation?
Yes. Yes, definitely. Tenant screening is crucial. Mm-hmm. And it's tough. Also, you have to be careful renting to family and friends.
Yeah, mm-hmm. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you started out flipping, though. Tell me how that started? Did you go to the courthouse steps, or where did you pick up your properties?
Pretty much the majority. A lot of my stuff I would get off market, and so they were, motivated sellers.
Okay.
So they may have had various of reasons. I've bought, a lot of bank owned. There are a lot I've bought probate. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you've got, people who are sadly in the middle of divorce, foreclosure, bankruptcy, all of those types of motivations. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of bought a lot. I have done some live auctions.
Have you?
Yeah, I have done some live auctions, and they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you have to be careful because, I have found a lot, oftentimes with the auctions, you have inexperience, either investors or agents that are bidding, and oftentimes they will bid the properties way above value, the property's value. So I remember even taking some of my investor clients and I would, prepare them before going. This is the ceiling. This is where it ends. And so we would go in and know exactly. And I would be sitting there sometimes with like my jaws would just like, I can't believe it, But by the grace of God, my clients, they, believed in me. And so they followed, the plan. And so we were safe.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So would you have ordinarily ended up picking up a property there, like let the crazy people go first and they're overbidding everything and you wait to the end, or you just find another avenue to buy property?
Oh, I tell you. So now I'm telling some secrets. But especially with online auctions, I would typically, sit in the cut and wait and see what is going to happen. And typically praying that, people don't jump out in front and just start, bidding it up. I typically wait until near the very end.
Okay.
And then I attack.
So there's something to that. Okay.
Yes.
I've never been to an auction like that, so I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not going to be your competition.
Yes, I love it.
That's awesome. Okay. All right, and then what was the process like of kind of putting together a team, right? Who would do the rehab or other roles you had for that?
Yes. Wow. Building a power team. It has been, I can't say relatively easy. It's like in everything, you have to do your due diligence. You have to vet, your partners, because in essence, that's really what they become. And it's not always easy. So, as an investor, you have to have, capital partners, you have to have attorney, title, contractors. And everything for me has been very easy, except when it came down to hiring contractors.
Why is that?
Hiring contractors has been tough because you will get some that they will do an outstanding job the first time. And so you say, okay, let's roll. And, I'll pick up, more projects expecting the same and it never seems to happen that way.
That's
it just seems that very frustrating. So it's hard. And then I find myself building another team. So now I always have typically 2 to 3 construction crews at a time, because, I have to, as they kind of say, never put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. I was just thinking that.
I have found never to put all of my eggs in one basket.
Okay. So you can't keep your options open as far as that goes. Okay.
Absolutely.
I would think too, if they knew you had 2 other contractors in the wings, they're like, okay, I better perform on a consistent basis here.
You would think.
That's where things go sideways though, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you flip to this day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Lifetime, how many have you flipped, do you know?
Okay. Well, I have been a joint venture partner, and so have done several with my joint venture partner. I can't say exactly how many, but I became more aggressive in 2014. And at that time, I also kind of started to venture off on my own. So not just doing, so trying to, I would say at this point about probably 20 or more.
Okay. Awesome. That's outstanding. And when you're evaluating a potential property, like what's the what are the steps you go through? Like what value is it now compared to what you're shooting for?
Yes. I actually use, I have a software that I use. It's called Rehab Valuator. And that helps me a lot analyze and evaluate the deals. It also has a piece that actually helps like with building out your scope of work and project management and things like that. But I also primarily focus a lot on the MLS.
Okay.
A lot of other investors are trained to, look at Zillow and Trulia and so on. I absolutely will not use Zillow and Trulia, any of the third parties. I'm going straight to the MLS because I need something that's real. I don't want a Zestimate.
I was going to say, you mean the Zestimate's not my real home value?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. And then in terms of like the return, is there a minimum you're hoping to profit at least this much, or you won't even consider it, or how does that work?
I do. Most of the time I'm looking for 6 digits,
Okay.
so wow. I typically aim for 6 digits, and at the end of the day, there's always something that comes up. But I have to say, to date, the least I have earned on any of my flips has been $78,000. Has been the least.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been really disciplined about choosing too, because
very disciplined.
Wow, that's amazing. Did your grandma flip properties, or was that?
She did not.
Okay,
she was a landlord. She just, long. That was the long term, hold. That was her game, and so investors, we all kind of use different. We pick and choose strategies, and her strategy was landlord.
Okay, that's awesome. So then at this point, because you mentioned you were looking at 29 units or, that thereabout, do you have long-term holds right now?
I do.
How many or what kind?
I have single family. I have 5 right now, but I'm looking to get really aggressive over the next 5 years because I would like to retire in the next 10 years. And so, my attitude, as I said, has completely changed. And it came in a real strange way because I was helping another investor client of mine who lives in Hawaii that had some small starter homes here in Illinois, had a really bad deal with the property management company that he was using. And he called me and said, I got to get out. I need to sell these properties ASAP.
Wow.
And hired me to list the properties. And at the time, I still was kind of like, bruised from the property management, seeing, how so many investors the landlords were struggling. So I was like, I didn't want to hold at that time. It was just, in and out, fix and flip. But he convinced me to, he actually told me I sold the first one in Dalton. And now I'm like, dang, I should have kept it. Yes, I should have kept it. But I sold that one for him. And he said to me, if I had known that I was going to be hit with all of these fees and everything, it would have been better for me to do owner financing and to keep that one. So he called me up one day and he said, Patrice, I really want to do something special for you. And he says, I appreciate, all that you've done and you've been really good to me. And I want to do something special for you. And he says, why don't you consider taking the other property? And I'm like, And it was a very small, a 3-bedroom, 1 bath with a 1-car attached garage.
Yeah.
Big backyard, and I'm like, I had been doing all like larger family type homes. So all of my properties and projects had been at least 2,400 square feet or more.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a little bitty tiny house, maybe 1,100 square feet.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I was thinking, but he talked me into it. And it was the best thing one of the best things I've ever done in my life.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And so now that's it. From here on out, it's like I love, tiny homes. I love, small, tiny homes. Very easy to finish.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Very easy. So I was able to get in, renovate it within 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Had it approved by the village and then ready for the tenant. And
that's outstanding.
It's been awesome.
Huh. Okay. So that process must have been a couple of months altogether from him saying you should keep this to, okay, it's yours.
Yeah. So that was probably about 2 months.
Okay.
2 months. And again, that was a property that I did a contract.
Oh, yeah.
Contract for deed.
Okay.
And he held the note for me, which allowed me to take my capital, and instead of having to put 20% down and
right.
Closing costs and all of those other things, I was able to invest that money in renovating the property.
Yeah. Wow.
And literally that property was paid for in less than 2 years. And so now have positive cash flow of $1,550 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's something.
I bought that property for $20,000, and it is now worth $165,000.
Unbelievable.
And it's probably been less than 5 years.
I was going to ask the next. Wow. So it's 8 times its value.
Yes.
And the rent has probably gone up steadily.
Yes.
Wow. That's incredible. That's a great investment.
Yes.
Okay. So then starting about 5 years ago, your switch flipped and you're like, okay, what else am I going to buy and hold?
Mm-hmm.
How many have you bought since then to do that?
5.
Oh, that's right. You said that. Okay.
5. Mm-hmm.
All in that same area?
No, I wish. Okay. I'm actually trying. That's kind of my game plan.
Yeah.
Is I'm actually I go regularly to the village and talk with the building. He's not the building manager, but
like inspector or something like that.
The inspector was the one who put me on to him, and the inspector was like, I'm impressed. You came in and turned this place around in a very short period of time. It's absolutely beautiful. Passed inspection the very first time. And so he said, you need to talk to they're like the building commissioner. It may be like the building commissioner and the mayor. And he was like, you need to talk to them, because there's a lot of properties that, there's like that have been abandoned
sure.
that need some TLC.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's incredible. What an opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay. So then that became your pipeline kind of for your property. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. I was just curious in the background, the seller financing, have you ever run into any troubles with that, or is it pretty straightforward?
It's always been pretty straightforward. Have never had any issues. In fact, I love it because it's just, you have a set term, you have a set payment, and it's that easy. There's no prepayment penalty. So if you want to, pay early, they love you. And, it's
sure.
like, so it just works.
Huh. Okay. So I think the only thing, pardon me, we haven't touched on yet are your role as an educator and then also developer. Which you think we should hit first?
Let's go with developer.
Okay. So how do you get started in that? That seems like huge and daunting.
Yes. So for me, I initially started saying, okay, with me owning a commercial mortgage brokerage, I was already supporting a lot of investors, helping them get financing for their fix and flips. And so it just made sense for me to, do it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
However, at that time, I had a little more than 20 years, about 20 years experience. And I was looking for a contractor,
Okay.
a general contractor to be exact, that had just as much experience, because for me, that was like my weakness.
Mm.
My weakness was understanding the construction part of it, pricing, bidding, and things like that. So I wanted somebody that could protect us. So I
Sure.
actually offered my general contractor 50-50 split.
Really?
So, yes.
Wow, that's generous.
Yes. Yes. And like most people, I kind of learned the hard way.
Same here. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So, and then what was the, so was there an initial project you took on, or?
Yes,
Okay.
I did. And initially, everything went really well. We did seven projects together, and so I really had great expectations. I thought everything was going really well, and boom, the floor falls out, and that no longer it didn't work anymore.
What do you mean? Sorry.
My contractor was doing other projects, had taken on other projects.
Got it.
And it interfered with the deadlines that we had on our projects.
I didn't know if it was market based, like was that 2008 or something like that?
No, it was actually between 2014 and 2018.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So sort of expectations, deadlines not being met. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Were you able to find another one and then continue? Okay.
I found another one, and that one didn't last as long as the first one.
Oh no. Okay.
And I think a lot of it had to do with I wasn't dependent on the bank we were dealing with a lot of cash.
Okay.
So it was our money, and so it was different when you have to, if you're dealing with the bank, you have draw inspections, and they will come and look and make sure that you're a percent finished before they would issue more money. In our case, we didn't have to wait for draw inspections. It was just a matter of going to the bank and and saying, we need this, now we're at this point. And that was just kind of a problem. I'm too trusting.
Got it. Okay. So that third party, like balance and checks and balances sort of thing helps.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. It works.
That makes sense. Okay. So two general contractors. Did you try a third, or was it?
Yep.
Okay.
So now, but this time I'm at the point where I've learned my lessons. So I'm not just, I don't just have one. So now I have, teams, and we, just allow them to all bid the job and see which one is going to come in.
Okay. And this might segue nicely to education. I'm really impressed with the way you persisted. Like you really didn't give up after one, after two, figured out the way that was going to work. And it seems like you've perfected the model almost.
I would not say perfect just yet. Yeah, not yet, but definitely a work in progress. Yeah. And absolutely. I mean, we can't give up, we keep going.
Yeah.
And I think, trials and tribulations, they come to make us strong. And so I've learned from the mistakes that I've made. And now my goal is to teach, others how to not, make the same mistakes that I made along the way.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into that. What was there like a personal moment, or did someone reach out to you and say, you should really be teaching other people how to do this?
Yes, I had a lot of people, coming to me and say, I'm interested in becoming an investor. You know, um, will you teach me? And can I shadow you? And my answer was always yes.
Yeah.
Feel free. Come and shadow me. And again, that's really where my heart is. I'm very passionate about helping others, and my goal is to teach, like-minded individuals how to build generational wealth that will sustain families for generations to come.
That's amazing. Okay. What, just on the off chance someone's listening, like, okay, I've heard this story. I really need to get in touch with Patrice and go to these classes. Where does that take place?
Actually, now because of COVID, we've been doing everything pretty much virtual.
Okay.
And so over the past year, I have been hosting master classes for specific strategies. And we've been focusing primarily on 3 different strategies this past year. And so it's all been done via Zoom.
Okay.
We are hoping to be able to get to in-person training and events soon. So we're keeping our fingers crossed and staying prayerful.
What you feel like has more of an impact in person versus virtual, or do you know?
I think the virtual, I think they both kind of have pros and cons. The virtual, I think, has provided a lot of convenience because it allows, my students to be at home or at work or wherever it is that they need to be. They don't have to travel, don't have to risk coming out and being infected or anything like that. So I think it's kind of had its pros and cons. In person, I like.
Yeah.
I like because I just feel like you get a different vibe. And I also like to take people on tours, so I like them to come and see,
that's great,
the progression. So from start to finish.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Okay. So you mentioned 3 tracks, and I guess this would segue to one of my questions. Somebody thinking about getting started investing now, what are their first steps, or what should they be looking into?
The first step is definitely saving.
Okay, great point.
Saving. They definitely have to have a saving plan. I am not one that teach or believe in, buying real estate with no money down.
Got it. Yeah.
I believe that as investors, we have to be prepared, and we all need to have skin in the game. So the first thing is understanding, what your target market is going to be, what your price point is going to be, so that you know exactly how much money you need to have saved. And then also I encourage investors to have a business. So they need to have, a business entity.
Yeah.
My preference is an LLC. And so that they can actually buy the property in the LLC and not in their personal name.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And then should they, I guess it could vary, but should they look like in a radius from their own home, or what's a good target market most people should pick?
I think it's good to start, in your own backyard. So within maybe a 15, 20 mile radius of your home is a great place to start. But I have found that we shouldn't be afraid to venture out into other emerging markets, because there are some awesome, emerging markets around the country.
Yeah.
And that's where I am now. So yeah, I'm kind of now venturing out side of Chicago land and looking at other hot markets. So Atlanta, Florida, Texas, the Carolinas, Tennessee. So there are just a number. There's many, in fact, as well, even Ohio, Michigan, even in the Midwest. So for me, I like to focus on tax-friendly states.
Makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. And my CPA told me a couple of years ago, Patrice, it's time to get out of Chicago. It's time. It's time to go. And so just the tax base is just crazy.
Yeah.
But, for those of us that, were born and raised here, we love Chicago, and this is home. And so we stay despite of. So I told my husband, I said, I always feel like Chicago will always be home.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to step outside of my comfort zone.
Okay. Does that mean actually moving yourself, or just looking outside for investment?
I'm actually considering moving as well, but right now I'm going to just kind of start investing. So I've been building teams in other areas now.
Wow.
Looking for you got to have boots on the ground.
Yeah.
If you're gonna invest outside of your backyard, or where you can't, directly be there to be the eyes. Yeah. You have to have boots on the ground that can be your eyes and someone that you trust.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Thinking about, you've got a huge broad range of experience here. I threw this question out early just to see, do you have a funny, embarrassing story from all your time in real estate that you think would be worth sharing? I'm sure there are many.
Oh, there are so many. There's so many. But if I had to think about, I got two.
Okay.
So one I'm going to start with is I was showing a property, a 2-unit on the south side of Chicago. And my clients and I were at the door. We had access, lockbox access, and I had just unlocked the door and went to open the front door and open the door, and I look up the stairs, and what do I see? 2 big, huge Rottweilers.
Oh no. Oh jeez.
And they both came, running to that door. But when they saw us at the bottom, they just, started, growling and barking and took off, running for us. And I remembered me and my client's husband, both of us grabbing the door and we're wrestling to keep this door closed. And it was like they were trying to get out, and we were trying. So that was like a very scary moment.
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh.
And needless to say, we didn't see that house.
No.
We decided to leave them alone and move on to the next one. So that was one of that I'll never forget stories in real estate. And then the next one that I wanted to share is my husband. I came home one evening and I was excited because one of my clients, who's an investor, he came and he told me, he said, Patrice, I want to thank you. He said, I looked at, he had met with his tax professional, and he said, do you know that you helped me make more money tax-free this year than I made on my job? And he was a Cook County sheriff.
Wow.
And he said, you helped me make more money this year tax-free than I made on my job. And I was like, wow. And I said, well, I know we've, done quite a few things this year, but, whoa.
Yeah.
And so we realized that I had helped him become an accredited investor in a very short period of time. And when I looked back at some of my other clients that I had been supporting at the time, found that I had done the same.
Wow. That's a legacy too.
Yes. And so I went home excited to tell my husband the news. And my husband, I expected him to be like, great job, honey, and, clap or something.
Yeah.
And instead, he turned and looked at me and he says, well, that's great. He said, but when are you going to do that for us? And I was like, are you serious? But it really made me have to take a closer look. I was so involved with, supporting and caring for my clients that I was just,
giving and not.
And it's okay, because I think it's better to give than to receive,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I was happy about that. But I did realize I needed to take some time to make sure that we were also growing, as a family. And so by the grace of God, I was able to help my husband and I become accredited investors in less than 2 years.
Wow.
And so it was huge.
That is huge.
Mm-hmm.
What's staying on that point, what's the secret there? Maybe it's not a secret. What's the process?
I mean, the process is, I would have to say it's really just being aggressive, taking action. It's taking action. And right now, one of the fastest ways to do that is using the BRRRR strategy.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
For people listening, what's that?
So the BRRRR strategy is buy, rehab, refinance, buy, rehab, rent, rent, refinance, and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is a way for investors to buy real estate, they rehab it, and then they rent it. And when they rent it, it allows them to refinance it and cash out, do a cash out refinance where they're able to take the money that they invested. And many times they get all of it back and some.
Mm-hmm. And
then they take that and now buy another piece. So it's not having to keep, saving, $20,000, $50,000. You're using the same money. Yeah. You're just one after another. And it's amazing.
It is amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So that's what you did. You took that method and
yes,
in a couple of years built that kind of, wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Let's see. There was one other question I was going to hit on before departing here, but I forgot what it was. It's embarrassing for me on air. That's my embarrassing story. What about, good. You tell me what the question is.
Yes. One of the questions I couldn't wait for you to ask was, do you own any crypto?
You know what? That slipped my mind, but you're right. Do you?
Yes.
You do? Really? Okay. You're the first one to say yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, I do, but of guests, yeah.
Oh my.
Tell me about it though. Yeah.
So I have some Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. I also have some Doge.
Yeah.
I also have some XRP, and I have Stellar.
Okay.
And I have one other. That one just slipped me.
That's okay. No problem. I know the feeling.
But I have 5 different crypto currency that I have invested in. And I'm a part of another group that we meet twice a month, Traders Talk. Mm-hmm. And we just had our meeting the other evening, and I was so happy and proud to say I'm one of the ones that do a lot in crypto, and I was telling them that, you know, in 2021, I had 0 losses, none.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what's, I guess in a nutshell, what's your investment strategy with crypto?
I think I would have to say I'm a conservative investor with crypto because I'm still learning,
Sure.
as most of us are, because it's still relatively new. But I believe for sure. And, you know, it's just, I just feel like, you know, slow and steady is, you know, has worked. And so right now I'm kind of keeping the same thing going. I'm going to, you know, continue to invest, you know, in crypto because like I said, it hasn't let me down yet.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad to meet a fellow investor in crypto. That's great.
Yes.
Anything I should have asked and haven't, or parting words for us?
Well, I think you have done an amazing job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I am looking forward to actually learning some things from you as well,
Okay.
because you are a leader, definitely at RPR, and RPR, Real People Realty, has been a blessing to, you know, those of us that are there. We have a dynamic support team.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really good. I think none of us know so much or, you know, have all of the answers. I think we all learn from one another. And that's kind of my goal every morning. It's, you know, when I wake up, it's to learn something new.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to actually getting to know you better and learning some things from you, because there's some things that you've mastered that I haven't.
Okay. Well, those are extremely kind words. I really appreciate that. And I'm always happy to share. So
yes,
we can certainly get into that. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. And hopefully we'll do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrice.